I've called today's episode of Hope for Wholeness overwhelmed. It's a word that I've heard used a number of times in the last week or so, and people who have just got to that point where they're saying, do you know what, it is all just getting too much. And I've been thinking about how we've been overwhelmed in different ways over the course of the last year. And one of the things that struck me was an image from a film, and I don't know what the film was. It was on television a few weeks ago, and somebody was slipping off the roof of a building or off a path, and they were about to fall, and somebody reached their hand and put it down and held on. You had that close-up of the two hands holding on, and they were pulling, and you could see the strain in the hands as there was more and more effort to hold them. And you could see the hands starting to slip, and you thought, is that person going to fall? And then at the very last minute, you saw the person who was leaning off the top, holding on, have one almighty heave and pull them back up. And the person was saved. Of course, it had a happy ending. But what struck me was, what if we're feeling in a position where we're trying to support one another and look after one another, but we've not got that last emergency reserve of strength in us? What if we've not got that last extra little pull when we need to help somebody else? What if we are feeling like we have got absolutely nothing left in the tank? We've been facing over the last 12 months something massively different to anything we've ever done before. However it is that we trained for the job that we do now, we didn't train to do it in the middle of a pandemic. And thinking about how we train set my mind back to a day I spent with a group of conductors last year. And I was at a depot, and we were all gathered together, and these conductors were coming towards the end of their training, and they were doing some emergency evacuation procedures. We got put in at one end, and before we left the cab door, the instructor managed to fill the cabin with smoke from a smoke machine. And you open the door, and I was inside that unit that I knew so well, and I could describe the inside of it. But all of a sudden, when the eyes go and you can't see, and all you can see is the smoke in front of your eyes, you're completely disorientated. You're relying on feeling the handles on the top of chairs, the poles in the doorways, whatever it is, you're just trying to find those places that you know that are your secure places where you can guide yourself by. But even in those places that we feel we're safe, COVID has meant that we've started to become uncertain. Maybe we're starting to feel that actually those things that we thought we knew aren't true. Our behaviours over the course of a year have changed. I just read something, it says it takes 2 to 3 months for a behaviour to change. We've been doing this for 12 now. And so we're looking at how do we face this uncertainty? How do we face going through the door into that train that's filled with smoke, not having a clue what's there? Well, it takes us being courageous. Today I used the word at the start, overwhelming, being overwhelmed. And the thing that will overcome overwhelmingness is courage. And it's courage together as a community of the railway, and it's to get the community of our families and our friends, but also the courage of ourselves as individuals that is going to see us through and out the other side. One of my favourite authors, an American called Brené Brown, says these words, and these are amazing words. She says, you can choose courage or you can choose comfort, but you can't choose both. We need to choose to be courageous people. to be strong people. That even in our weaknesses, it might take us to that point of that final pull up, like the person slipping off the bridge. We're coming to what is going to be the beginning of the way out. Homeschooling looks like it's done. We're now starting to move towards things reopening, the lifting of essential travel. But it requires a courageous industry. It requires an industry made of courageous people. And I want to urge you to be courageous friends, to be friends bold enough to ask after each other, to be bold enough and courageous enough to support the people in those challenging times. For with courage, we'll prevail and we'll come out the other end.